Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has arrived in Saudi Arabia to attend an Arab League summit there. Now, this is the first such trip by the Syrian president to Saudi Arabia since breakout of foreign-backed militancy in Syria in 2011. Trip follows Arab League adoption of a resolution in Cairo to readmit Syria to the bloc after nearly 12 years of suspension. We're now joined by former British ambassador to Syria, Peter Ford, for his take on the latest development. Hello, Mr. Ford. Pleasure to have you, Ambassador. Your initial thoughts on this, please.
Well, it's an absolutely historic moment. It's hard to exaggerate the significance of Assad's arrival for the Arab summit. It signals the end of Syria's isolation. It signals the success of Syria with its allies, Iran and Russia, in overcoming Western attempts to overthrow the regime of Syria. It also signals a changed role for Saudi Arabia. And this is possibly even more important on a geopolitical level, that Saudi Arabia should defy the United States on this major issue. And the Americans have put a lot of pressure on Saudi and other Arab countries not to normalize relations with Syria. The Saudis have defied the Americans on this. They defied the Americans on reaching an agreement recently with Iran to lower tensions. They defied America over oil prices recently. Really, there has been almost a diplomatic revolution here. America is no longer alone in calling the shots in the Middle East.
And developments like this, Ambassador Ford, how will they benefit the Syrian people? We know they're still living under crippling sanctions under the Caesar Act. We know that their soil is still being occupied by U.S. forces, their oil being looted by U.S. forces, parts of the northern part of the country occupied by Turkish forces. But these forging of ties with Damascus and other Arab leaders, especially Riyadh, and moving away, and Riyadh, as you alluded to, moving away from its basically influence under the U.S., how does that bode well for the future of the Syrian economy and the prospects of a better life for Syrians?
Well, it will take some time for Syria to reap the benefits of this normalization. But the normalization puts pressure on the United States to withdraw its forces from northeast Syria. It's becoming absolutely clear that no purpose is served by the presence of those forces now that the Syrian conflict is effectively ended. The message from the Arab League is that Syria, as far as the Arabs are concerned, the Arab conflict is finished. It's time to open a new page, and America needs to smell the coffee. So it puts pressure on the Americans. It will take time for this pressure to translate into American withdrawal and to lift their terrible sanctions. All this is going to take a year, I would guess. But in the meanwhile, Arab countries, Gulf countries will be talking to Syria, exploring ways to help with reconstruction.
And Ambassador Ford, before we let you go, what do you think caused and initiated the Saudis wanting to move away from U.S. influence and gravitate towards China, build basically bridges back with Tehran and Damascus in the region?
Absolutely. This is the geopolitical significance of what's happening. I don't think the Americans have quite realized that they have lost Saudi Arabia. The question is for Washington is not who lost Syria, but who lost Saudi Arabia. And this question will reverberate now in the foreseeable future. Heads should roll in Washington for making this dreadful mistake of alienating Saudi Arabia, which is now a de facto ally now of Syria and Iran.
Thank you, Ambassador. Always a pleasure to check in with you, sir. From Manchester, Ambassador Peter Ford there joining us. Stay safe, sir.